Hey everyone, on the bench today is a T-Unit Mortal Kombat. What does that mean, T-Unit? So, Mortal Kombat, when it was released, the original, I guess the predecessor board was known as the Y-Unit, and revisions 1 through 4 essentially, were found on the Y-Unit, and then the company who developed this, Midway, had decided to upgrade and get the latest build of their T-Unit out the door for Mortal Kombat for their final revision release, which was revision 5. I picked this board up on eBay just recently. The board said it was 100% working. It looks nice and clean, no issues that I've seen so far. Edge connector can use some cleaning on the solder side. The big concern that I've got right now is that everything does truly work, so we'll see. I've got a data ribbon cable that was included with the purchase. However, no power to the soundboard, so we'll have to build our own power-based harness, and then we'll also need to build a specific kick harness for this to work in the arcade cabinet. The Y-Unit board that I've got in the Melty MK right now is a different pin out. There's 12 pins on a Y-Unit board and a 15 pin connection on the T-Unit boards, so that will require a slightly different kick harness because of the mapping for that. And also the soundboard that we've got, there's 2 different soundboards for an MK. This is just one of them. The only real difference is like the some of the chip positioning and the some of the capacitor pieces. But the goal here is we'll go buy a cap kit from arcadepartsandrepair.com, little plug there, and replace these caps. So you can tell that this is an original set of caps. The axials always are this kind of shiny blue on any of the original Midways you'll see with a handful of games, including, NBA Jam, Tournament Edition, a lot of other games too. I just did a cap. I didn't have a kit for it, but I redid caps for a pigskin that was also, it's a Bally Midway game there that needed some love. But one way you can tell on Midway games if the original caps, again, the axials being that blue shiny piece, and on top of the electrolytics, you'll see a chevron shape more times than not. And then a lot of the newer caps that I've been buying, or the caps that I've been buying specifically from Arcade Parts and Repair, have a kind of a plus shape in the top of the caps there, and the axials tend to be black, as we've just shown on the pigskin. So what's the purpose of this project? I already have a Y-Unit board in my Multi MK, so why on earth would I be buying another MK? Well, the goal for this is going to be to support a build of Mortal Kombat Plus. And what is that? So the Plus team and the 2 that lead that effort, Drew and Paul, are very, very awesome individuals that have created a hardware-supported mod of the original trilogy, we'll say, arcade trilogy for Mortal Kombat. Now, we'll come back to MK specifically. Just want to touch on the other 2 pieces that have officially been released. Paul has developed MK2 Plus, and that's available for folks to experience. And then Drew is the other developer who's created Ultimate MK3 Plus. And then Drew and Paul joined forces for a kind of an additional revision to Ultimate MK3 Plus, and that's also been released. Now, Paul has since spent some time over the last few years working on a MK Plus build for the original game, and he decided to use revision 5 as the base. And so that means you need to have a T-Unit Mortal Kombat and not a Y-Unit Mortal Kombat to support that. Now, there has been no official release to the Mortal Kombat Plus game. I do have access to it from a contributor perspective. We'll just leave it at that. So I'm not going to be sharing ROMs or anything like that in this video or in this channel in any way. It is officially unreleased. My goal here is to be able to get it to work in my cabinet and to be able to help with hardware-based testing if they need it, and go through and just have a build where I can actually play as Reptile on the original hardware, which will be kind of cool. And just provide any other support and feedback that I can with the original hardware, as opposed to just doing it all through MAME. So things to do with this project, as I kind of recap really quick as we wrap up the video, I wanted to keep this one short, is we'll be building a kick harness for this guy to make sure that we can actually use our low punch and low kick. When I looked at the documentation in the T-Unit manual, because I did pick one up and you can find them digitally online quite often, it does mention that the block button is part of the kick harness, which I'm curious if that's actually accurate or not. There is enough buttons to have the block button supported through the traditional JAMA edge connector. So we'll actually see. We'll wire it up as needed, and hopefully we don't run into any headaches there. I do have a multi-switcher set up from Jim Riddle, Riddled TV, and also have his kick harness condenser piece that lets you just still swap through all the different games without having to swap extra connections for your kick harness. And so building that kick harness, we'll build a new power piece here. You can see those pins. I don't have the, as I mentioned, I don't have the power piece, just the data cable. So we'll need to build that so that we can support the power over here for the soundboard. And the soundboard is going to need some new caps as well. And we'll swap those out like I mentioned. And then eventually, as we get ready to do some swaps, we'll do some testing on the board first, making sure everything's working well after the various changes out. We'll make sure that our coin battery has 3 volts to it. If not, we'll swap that out. And then eventually we'll do a tutorial on how to burn ROMs on your computer. And if you have a ROM burner, and having the right equipment and how to do that. And then we'll get the right ROMs in place and we'll boot it up and test it out. Now my workbench currently has a pigskin on it, but we'll be able to test this here on this setup once we get it reconfigured to work with some MKs as opposed to some other games, and test out the gameplay experience here on the workbench before we stick it in the arcade cabinet and just go from there. So that's the background on this project. We'll start a series of videos where I'm just sitting down, swapping out the caps, talk about testing voltages too whenever we get it on the bench, maybe showing the process on how to build your own custom harness. Maybe it's the power, maybe it's the kick. We'll figure that out. And of course, like I said, the ROMs, and maybe hooking it up and mounting it to the wall inside the arcade cabinet. We'll see how that goes. So until next time, we'll talk more and be on the lookout for more videos. Thanks, everybody.